You're trying to cure me. Okay, good. Incurable, but okay.
Yes.
Okay, חברות. משנכנס אדר מרבים בשמחה. We had another event. Motzei Shabbos, Amalav Malkan. I spoke about Simcha. I'm continuing the same theme. So if you were there, not too many of here were there also. So, but whatever it is, I'm not. Yeah, there were a couple of you, a few of you there. I'm gonna pick up the theme, but from a little slightly different place. But the questions that we start off with sound, it's like it might be sounding like it's going to the same place. But a chazar is always good. You're saying, okay. Yeah, these children that always speak in the middle of class. Yeah, you Hungarians, you. Okay, so Mishinichnas Adar Marbim Besimcha, and it's a very interesting thing. It's a very interesting thing that the other month that is noted for Simcha or not Simcha is Av. Mishinichnas Adar Marbim Besimcha. Mishinichnas Av Mematim Besimcha. So one we increase in joy, one we decrease in joy. The difference between Adar and Av is that Av is in the halacha books. It made its way into the Shulchan Aruch. What does it look like to be mema'et b'simcha, to decrease in simcha? You're not supposed to do anything that's joyous that would bring a person to joy, like building a new home, buying new articles of clothing. Basically, it's like you're in a veilus, no music. It's in a veilus. And if you want to know how you're supposed to be decreasing in simcha, you look up the Shulchan Aruch and they'll tell you, don't do this, that, and the other thing. We know what to do in Av, but we don't know what to do in Adar, except that it doesn't even actually, the Mishinichnas Adar Marbim B'Simcha didn't even make its way into the Shulchan Aruch, unlike the thing about Av. You have to find Mefarshim on Mefarshim to come up with the Gemara that this is quoted from. The Malbim, not the Malbim, the Mishnah Berurah mentions it, but it's like a kind of a by the way note in his parish on the Shulchan Aruch, but it didn't make its way. And so we're left like, what are you supposed to do? How are we supposed to do it? How are we supposed to execute this simcha, this extra measure of simcha that the whole month has to be this feeling of overwhelming simcha? Halacha doesn't help us, doesn't tell us what to do. You get the question? The question is like, why? And it's not only starts from Purim. You can say, okay, of course, we were saved. Our lives were saved. We had a Haman that wanted to destroy us. It was a big gezerah, and Hashem saved us from it, so we'll be happy. So so it makes sense to be happy on Purim. On Yud Gimel Adar, Yud Daled Adar, Shushan Purim. But like the whole month is colored by this extra measure of simcha, that it has to be only simcha. Whatever you do, you have to be b'simcha doing it. And so the question is, again, like, why? And I don't know that I'm going to actually answer that question, except that in the Megillah, it's okay. Sometimes it's good to throw out questions we don't have answers for. In the Megillah, Esther Amalka says there, and Mordechai, they instituted these days for Mishta and Simcha, and okay, I'm trying to look at it in my notes. I thought I highlighted it. Sometimes this is the problem. Ever gadol Yehudim v'tzom uvchi v'spod sak ve'efer otzel harabim. This is not the pasuk I'm looking for. We're going to build up to that. It's a whole chodesh hazeh lachem. It's the whole chodesh for Lemishta and Simcha. That's the pasuk, something like that. They should make that they Mordechai and Esther instituted that this whole month will be for Mishta and Simcha, for Mishta for Maza Mishta, for feasting and for Simcha. You really connected that with like very from a knowing place, but okay, Bezrat Hashem, we'll get there. So now here's another thing from in halacha. That's a discussion about Purim. Okay, are you allowed to get married on Purim or not? And this has everything to do with it. Now, so you're not allowed. We're not allowed. Halacha says we're not allowed. We're not supposed to get married on the Moadim, on the holidays. Why? Ein marvim simcha besimcha. Because you're not supposed to mix a simcha with the simcha. But then the question is about Purim. So why would you even have the question of Purim? If you're not supposed to be mixing a simcha with simcha, keep each simcha separate and enjoy it and sink into it and get all the light, whatever you need to do get from it without bringing any other energy except for what the energy of that holiday is. But why wouldn't that apply? Why would that even be a question on Purim? It's a very fascinating discussion, and I have to say, B'Shem Amro, a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be sharing from you is from Rabbi Reuven Sasson Shlita. Love going to him, and a lot of these ideas are from him. So he says, like, he explains this like this. What does it mean? Like, what's the big deal about having a wedding on Pesach? You're already like the families are getting gathered together. You're already like not working. You're getting together for the meals anyway. Why not chaperine and add another reason to be joyous? And he explains that you can't do that because the simcha of a chasana, of a wedding, will diminish the simcha of the focus of whatever you're supposed to be thanking Hashem for on Pesach or on Sukkot. On Pesach, it's time of Yetziat Mitzrayim, Geula, all these nisim happen, there's Hashgacha. And when we focus, when we throw ourselves into and we speak about Yetziat Mitzrayim, the energy that fills us and the light that comes down to us from Shemaim that's open up in heaven, for us is tapping into a certain type of energy. It's a certain type of light. There's a certain prescription to it. And we are making ourselves, opening up our heart to be able to get into it. And if you'll start sticking another content of another reason for happiness, it'll take away, it'll diminish the elevation and exuberance, what you're supposed to be feeling from Pesach or from Sukkot, which is Ashrat HaShechina, the Emunah of the Ananei Kavod, all of that, whatever that means to us. And Shavuos and Matan Torah. So it's like it's like you have a child that needs to get married, and you have another child that needs to be bar mitzvah, and say we already invited all our guests, we already spent all this money on catering, money on catering. So like, why not combine? We'll have an extra cake, but like why not? Why can't you make a double measure of? And that each one, that both the bride and the groom are the bar mitzvah saying, but I'm special. I mean, let this be just my special day. Can we just like give that to me and not start like mixing other things into it? And that's the reason halacha says ein mervim simcha b'simcha, because every holiday has its light that makes itself available to us, and we have to have our heart fully open to be filled with that light without any competing concepts going on. Just get in touch with Yetziat Mitzrayim, with Geula. Get in touch with Hashrat HaShechina of Sukkot. Get in touch with the Kabbalah Torah of Matan Torah. So why does the question apply to Purim? Like, why don't we say, obviously, if it applies to all the other holidays, it would apply to Purim? So you can say, well, Purim is derabanan. It's based on a Sefer Megillat Esther from the Ketuvim. It's Ruach HaKodesh. It's not actually, on the status of the other holidays of Deoraisa. Okay, but then some people say that dafka, the customs we get from the Rabbanan and what the Jews decide upon themselves, is even on a higher status than what Hashem gave us because it comes from us. So why is it that why is it that the question comes up? And this is the reason why it comes up. Because for the other holidays, we are told, V'samachta bechagecha. In the Torah, according to, for the chagim of the Torah, we have to rejoice in the holiday, specifically about the holiday that Hashem gave us, implying that there's a certain ruchnius, there's a certain light that comes down to us, and we have to open up our heart to be able to receive all of that light in regards to the content of the holiday that we are celebrating, specific to that. But what about Purim? It says, HaChodesh hazeh, this whole month, mishteh v'simcha. It's meant to be for feasting and for simcha, but it doesn't say about Purim. It doesn't have the language of a samachta bechagecha. It just leaves it open-ended. It's a time for feasting, getting together, and to be besimcha. Open-ended simcha. which means whatever brings you to Simcha, you're allowed to do on Purim. You want to get married? That's going to bring you to Simcha? Yeah, go for it. Shopping makes you Simchadik. It brings you to an elevated state of whatever it is, you're allowed. Whatever brings you to a place of Simcha is allowed. And the question now that we're going to try to answer is why? What is it about Purim that make it so open-ended that it's so like all-encompassing that whatever brings you to Simcha, why can't we say, just like Pesach is about Yetzias Mitzrayim and Sukkot is about whatever it is and Shavuos is about Matan Torah, then Purim is about being saved from Haman. There's a evil people that want to destroy us, annihilate us, obliterate our existence. So why not it may be contingent upon that? Like there is a specific ruchnius to Purim, right? So what is it about that makes it open-ended? Because the answer is in the question. If Haman, what did he want to do us? Genocide, off with us. He wanted to take our life away. You are not going to have any existence. Sof pasuk. That's it. Nekuda, right? How do you say that in English?
Full stop.
Full stop. Period, right? So where was I going with this? Yeah, which means what the perspective that we got from Purim is that when the decree got nullified, it's like, oh, we have our life back. But let's like really try to sink into, get to what it is. And I think those survivors from South, from October 7th, from Simchas Torah, they'll have an appreciation of this in a tangible way. We can only just surmise it from the stories that we hear. Come on in, Alona, come in. Okay, so it's like this. Let's say you have somebody. This is also it's a mashal that Rabbi Reuven Sasson gives. Let's say you have a person. Start like this. Everyone has a reshima, a list of things that bring them to simcha, and a list of things that bug them, that take away their simcha, that just suck the juice out of them, the simcha out of them. Everyone has those lists, right? Now imagine a person, chas v'chalila, lo aleinu, not on any of us. He wakes up, he had his sight his whole entire lifetime. He wakes up one morning and he can't see. And he thinks maybe my eyelids are stuck together, and no, his eyes are open, but he just can't see. He just went blind overnight and he can't see. And it's really freaking him out, and it brings, now somebody who had sight and now lost sight, the whole list of what makes him happy and what bugs him completely changes. What wouldn't he do to get back that sight? This is going to make me happy. An extra sweater, this thing, or this is bugging me out that somebody cut me in line and what would I do? Every it's like, right? The whole list. How you doing? How you doing? You missed a good Hallel, but it's good. We have good pictures. We have good pictures. So what was I saying? So like this. All of a sudden now, imagine this person after a prolonged, let's say like a year of being blind, he wakes up and all of a sudden he can see again. He can see again. He jumps out of bed. He sees the ceiling. He looks around the room. He sees the room. He walks around the house. I can see you. He sees everything. He sees that annoying stain that he can never get rid of, and that how precious it is to see that stain that once bugged him, and now it's like, oh my gosh, I see you. I want to kiss you. Everything that bugged him. And he's going out of the house and he's jumping up and down the joy from every nonsense that he sees. But for him, it's not nonsense. And people are asking, what are you so happy? Because I see. This is so big deal. I can also see. Yeah. But you can't express, you see, you understand like the exuberance of this person so now in Purim, we were this close to being annihilated. This close to being annihilated. And they were living with that consciousness. Before the decree, life was very taken for granted. Hayinu kechamim, we were like dreaming through life. Everything was taken for granted. Yeah, no, no. And you can imagine in people's homes, like in all families, there's certain things that bug you about certain people, and you're annoying. Like here's another mashal that Rabbi Reuven Sasson gave. Like imagine this couple who did everything good for their child and raised them with good values, sent them to good schools, but he's like a son of a gun. Okay, he's like taking out their kishkas. He's chutzpahdik, takes things beyond taking. He lacks gratitude on anything. He he's maybe even verbally abusive, and they're thinking we're sent them to yeshiva. We're raising an Esav. There's like what about Yaakov is in this kid? We don't see it. But then one day, this monster of a teenager steals the car keys from his parents, takes the car for a drive, and has like this horrifying near-death experience of this car crash that sent him to the hospital. And they're working on him, and he's like, I don't know what kind of state he's in, but he's not conscious for a few weeks. And the parents, of course, as soon as they heard about this kid that's going through this bad thing, this monster that of a kid that took their kishkas out every single day from the time he turned, I don't know, 14. And they're rushing to their side and they're praying for him, and you're our son, and he can't hear, he's unconscious, but it's like all of a sudden none of that cared like that made any difference to them. He is their child. They understand that at essence he is part of them, and they are going to do anything and pay anything and do anything to bring him back to good health. After a few weeks of coma, the child wakes up and he sees his parents by his side crying and praying and lavishing him with all kinds of affections. And he's saying, whoa, what happened? He's saying, you're our son. What do you mean what happened? And they're telling him everything they went through. And now all of a sudden, nothing makes a difference except that which is essential. Purim, being so close to being annihilated in Shushan and all over the Persian kingdom, all of the nonsense that went on between relationships, you bug me, I bug you, and all of these arguments and all of these negative feelings that one carries for the other. The Gezerah came, Haman said, you're all dead. In a matter of time, we have a date. Your life is sealed to death. All of a sudden, does that make a difference that this one bugs me for this reason or another reason? They're hugging each other and kissing each other, and because they know that it's in a short amount of time, they're not going to be together anymore. This is a horrible thing. And what that accentuated is not only the value of life, but the value of relationships, and a perspective of what's on my list of things that make me happy and what's on my list of things that bug me out. It's a whole different other list when you're this close to losing your life. And then when the decree got ripped up and they got life back, it's like that blind person who got sight back. It's like nothing is taken for granted. Life becomes precious. If life is precious, it's also holy. There's a kedusha to the chayim. There's a kedusha to life. There's a holiness and a value for life, that every aspect of life becomes a perspective of a hodu l'Hashem ki tov. Oh my gosh, I'm in love with life because now I have it again, because I was so close to not having. So when I get it back, I understand what it is. That's Purim. And so Purim is a mishteh, is all about Adar. The whole month is Mishinichnas Adar Malbim Besimcha. How are you supposed to manifest this simcha? The halacha books then don't tell us, like the way they tell us about Av, what not to do to keep us away from simcha and Av. But on Adar, we're not told. What are you supposed to do? What you're supposed to do? You're supposed to live. You're supposed to live with an understanding of how precious life is, how every aspect of life is to be celebrated, not to be taken for granted. But that's what got heightened after the decree was annulled. Now, if you think about it, this is very, very deep, especially because nothing effectively changed in Persia. Achashverosh was still the king. The Jewish people were still in Galus. There were still, nothing changed in terms of the environment, except that they got an appreciation for life. And also, you know, in Shavuos, we got the Torah, it was coerced upon us. Kafalem har kigigit. Hashem raised up the mountain for us and said, if you accept it, fine. If not, this is your death place. What that means is that B'sechel, Hashem does all these light shows for us. He impresses us with all of this booming voice of whatever that sounded like, that there was a light show and we saw the voices and we heard the sounds. No. Help me out here. Opposite. We saw the sounds and we heard the show. We heard okay. Okay. You know what we mean. Okay. And so how could you deny Hashem's existence? How could you deny that all of this is emes? So they had no choice to accept it. They understood it here, but did it make its way to their heart? Not really. It wasn't really a choice. It was like their head took over. And what happened in Purim is kimu v'kiblu. Kimu, they started doing what they were mekabel and Matan Torah on Shavuos, what they received on Shavuos, they finally were able to be mekayem. Someone help me with the translation of mekayem. To fulfill. Thank you. To fulfill, but from a place of heart. Now we understand the kedusha of a Jew. Now we understand the connection of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Now we understand that he's Melech, but he's also Avinu, and this is a bond that will never be severed. Now I understand the preciousness of life through the life of kedusha of a Jew. There's another pasuk, Or zeru al tzaddik v'lishrei lev simcha. It's two categories. Or zeru al tzaddik. A tzaddik receives light. What's light? Light is Torah. Ora is the Torah. The definition of a tzaddik, according to Mesilas Yesharim, is whoever does the Shulchan Aruch, all the asay and lo taseh of the Torah, they do it. But their heart doesn't necessarily have to be there. They're just technicians of mitzvahs. They do it. They do it because they believe in Hashem. But they also need to be mitgabel, overcome their yetzer. They're working on their midos. They have to put themselves betzimtzum, constrict what they want as opposed to what Hashem wants. So they're not always besimchat tzaddikim. Those that are in process, okay? And Tanya calls it a Benoni. It's a tzaddik that never does anything wrong, but they're still struggling with the Yetzer Hara. So not necessarily a tzaddik, someone who does always what they're supposed to, is someone that's full of simcha. But who is? The pasuk is, Or zeru al tzaddik v'liyishrei lev simcha. The ones who are yesharim balev. The ones who have a straight heart. Their heart is straight with Hashem. That the heart got the memo. What other pasuk am I thinking of now? Vayadata hayom v'hashavota elevavecha. And you know now, what you know now, bring it into your heart. When the information from your head gets to your heart, then you're besimcha. V'lishrei lev simcha. Someone who has an open heart, to be makabel, to receive everything that Hashem wants to give us, which is life, which is not to take anything for granted. That's all the tefillot, all the berachot hashachar is about. You have pokeach ivrim, you can dance 70 years just for that. Malbish harumim, just dance everything that we say. Not to take anything for granted. Purim brought that into very special focus. And that's why whatever brings you to simcha, to a sense of life, what we spoke about Motzei Shabbos is simcha is defined as tosefet chaim, as anything that brings you to an extra measure of life within you, that you have a sense of, I have something added to me right now. It's fulfilling. I feel more fulfilled. I was somewhere and someone gave me a smile, an extra measure of life. Hey Phyllis, I brought a new article of clothing. It brings me basimcha. Even that, I'm like, I added to myself. It brings me to a place of simcha. I deepen my connection to a friend. You know, when you meet a friend, and you have joy in your heart, you have simcha. When you meet them, it's not like when you don't have joy in your heart. There's such a greater depth of appreciation for the friendship. There's more connection. There's more sharing. It's a whole different other level of experience. That's what Reb Shlomo gave everybody when he met them, right? Where have you been all my life? And you just open your heart in such a deeper connection. And if you approach Torah learning with simcha, right? It's the same thing. It's not the same as learning Torah when you're not besimcha. It goes like that, to this is like the most awesome thing in the world, and I'm jumping out of my skin and I'm like flying high because my heart, with the help of the simcha, is making me appreciate whatever I'm experiencing now more because my heart is open, and what I'm absorbing into me is the extra measure of life that I get with what I'm engaged with. The same thing for Pesach. Pesach is Yetzias Mitzrayim. We're opening ourselves up for whatever the Geula is in Yetzias Mitzrayim. And you have to just be, but the difference between Pesach and Purim, what did we say? On Pesach, we have to be specific about that item that Hashem is giving us to be simcha with. That's why you're not allowed to get married on Yom Tov. Lama ein mitchatnim b'moadim ki ein mervim simcha b'simcha. But Purim is about life itself. There's no limit. There is no limiting, defining thing because life itself is the thing that we're celebrating. It's not just a geula from Mitzrayim, which, yes, we have to do it every day, but it's so much more encompassing. And so whatever brings you to simcha is, hey man, just do it. As long as it's b'torah, b'kedusha, b'tahara, you're not breaking laws of Torah for this. But whatever a Torah says is mutar, al pi Torah mutar, go for it. There's no limitations because there's no limiting the amount of simcha that Hashem gifts us with every breath of life that we get. So what is the essential mitzvah, the article that we're besimcha over on Purim? Like Pesach, we have items, right? There's matzah, there's the arba kosot, there's the Haggadah, Sukkot, there's the Arba Minim, and there's the Sukkah itself, there's a Schach, and we want to open up to the light of those specific mitzvot. What is the specific article of object of that brings us to the joy of the mitzvah of Purim? You know what it is? It's me, and it's you. It's life. It's the connection with friends. It's the mishloach manot. It's matanot le'evyonim. It's the Suda, it's the Yael. We have to read the Megillah. But the mitzvahs of the day, 4 out of 5 is about connections, but just be alive. Dress up your body, feed your body, imbibe your body, but do it with friends and do it while you're thinking of others. Because life itself is being celebrated. Isn't that wonderful? And so if you wonder, what am I supposed to do on Adar that I'm supposed to be sameach? Appreciate everything that you've been taking for granted up until now. You have to do nothing different other than live your life with an extra measure of appreciation. And how do we do that? You daven for it. But you also do it, what Rav Dessler says, the way to increase love in your life is by giving. The way, so when you give, you're naturally happier when you're giving. I'm in a position to give. I feel like $1 million, right? In the giving is the opening up of the channels of love to the one that you're giving, but also to the one that's really you're receiving from in order to give to. You're at Sino. It's like love all around. And so we daven Bezat Hashem that our hearts should open to appreciate the life and not to take anything for granted that what Hashem gives us. This is the story of Purim. He brought us this close to denying us life with this crazy Haman, and then he gave us back. And Bezat Hashem, the same will be for all the Chatufim and all of the soldiers that are fighting for to bring safety and security to Am Yisrael, because there's a real threat for our life. There's a real modern day Haman, reincarnated all the time. Finally, we should just get rid of them. And the way to battle it is exactly the point of Purim. You celebrate life. You get together. And you don't get together with vigils of mourning and boo-hoo-hoo when you crying, and that's going to bring that's the type of energy that's going to bring the hostages out. Jews get together and we celebrate and we say mitzvahs with greater kavana, and we're going to dance and we're going to celebrate Hashem. You want us to live, you gave us life. We are going to do these gatherings like this dance into Geula initiative that these women all over the globe are getting together and putting and dedicating the good light and hope and sending energy for everyone that light and hope needs to reach. And Bezrat Hashem, with that, will elevate all of creation into the purpose for which Hashem created the world to begin with, to be infused with Hashem's light, because that He is the Makor HaChaim. He is the source of all life. So to plug into our own life, it has everything to do with our Ruchnius Torah. We have to plug into Hashem, the Koach of Hashem within us, to give life, to feel life coursing through our veins, and to be able to then transfer it to others through the mitzvahs of Purim. But don't just wait for Purim, a whole month of this. We start putting that into practice like now, Bezrat Hashem. Thank you so much. You want to say something?
And I was thinking, because I found that so powerful. You're saying about Shavuos, how that's like we had all the facts in front of us, and in a certain sense, like love needs to be blind. Like it shouldn't have all the facts in front of us, because then it can only that way can it actually be true love. And then I just thought,
it's from the heart, beautiful.
Dress up on Purim, so really, and we embrace each other dressed up as though we understand the concept of like love beyond seeing who the other person, like thinking that we see the other person, like we don't have to see the other person to love them or to understand.
Because we would go right to the essence of the atzmiut of the person, the pnimius of the person.
I was just trying to dress up, and it was just like I just thought, oh wow, like
beautiful. Baruch Hashem. Thank you. We'll hear good news from everyone all around. The Chatufim should come back. Let me just mention one more time the ones that we were dedicating today to Karina Bat Ira, Tamir Ben Charut, and Yoram Ben Yael should come home safely with Hashem with all the other hostages. Thank you so much. Thank you, the ones on Zoom, for joining us. If you want to mute yourself and say something?
Yeah, thank you. It was a beautiful share.
Thank you. Kol Tov. Bye-bye.